Worldwide movement. Peace, love, respect. Big King Sadiq hollering at you one more again. Yes, indeed. Family. Everybody file on in, get comfortable. I'm banking on last week's invitation to be strong enough and recalled by folks that we get some people chiming in. To a new level. Crushing all these devils. One of my songs playing in the background. The Ill Grip. Big King Sadiq, please go on all the platforms, check out my music, right? My album, PLR New Paradigm, right on the channel, right? Check it out. But also on all the platforms, Apple Music, iHeartRadio, Spotify, all that, right? Yeah, man. You know, we taking this paradigm shift into the music. And whitewash the brain seeking societies behind that. Who do you think? Don't pause or blink. Let's embrace the king. Yes. Got your mind right, your spirit shines bright. That's the ill grip. The ill grip. You ain't falling for the plan of the 1% clan. That's the ill grip. The ill grip. Shining lights on the pipe with a social class. That's the ill grip. The ill grip. Put your back against the wall, so you best stand tall. That's the ill grip. The ill grip. Worldwide movement. Peace, love, respect. All right, folks. Beautiful, beautiful indeed. So I'm trying to let folks file in a little bit. We just listened to one of my songs, The Ill Grip, off the album PLR New Paradigm. Please check it out. Please check it out. So perhaps I'll go ahead and send a couple reminders, and hopefully we can fill up a little bit. All right. Let's go to last week. All right. Let's send out a couple. Let's send out a couple. Come on, folks. It's all good. You know, we keep this a very comfortable environment. I might as well throw out the disclaimer again that this is a little bit different than the other videos on my channel in that this is an adult forum, right? Just because it's live, unedited, right? And certainly we're not censoring anyone, right? So just wise and likely best to have it in adult format and go from there. All right. We're going to give it another few seconds before I start to present the subject for today. No sense of presenting to no one. We'll see if some folks start to chime in. Let me get this out here. Couple more seconds, folks. Maybe about 30 seconds. I'll go ahead and start presenting anyway. Well, maybe we'll round that to a minute. All right. All right. I'm about to start presenting, folks. Okay. When folks chime in, that's the beautiful thing of this platform and the format. When folks chime in, I'll just catch them up to speed, and if no one chimes in, it's still going to be here for people to view and build from there. Okay, so I think this is actually a very interesting topic for this week, right? Um, and I want to have the backdrop of reminding that, you know, I've stated in several different instances, videos, and so forth, that we are not just, you know, sort of guessing at this, folks, right? We're not just, um, you know, going off a purely sort of esoteric standpoint, right? There are esoteric aspects in this. Okay, someone's starting to chime in. Come on in. I was holding up. I just started to present the subject. So I've stated previously again that we're not just, you know, completely guessing at this, right? This is not just something we're going completely off of our ability to go inward, which I don't want to understate, right? Which is very profound, and we need to do more so, more of, right? But there is a lot of evidence backing up what we're looking at, right? Um, I stated that scientists have actually, first of all, have most certainly been for years now commenting on, charting, uh, keeping us aware of the fact that in this particular area of the galaxy that our solar system um, is in its orbit around the center of the galaxy, is housing some incredibly powerful energies that have been very impactful, not only to our star, but to our planet, and certainly to everything on the planet, human beings certainly being no exception, right? Um, and there have been evidences of that impact, right? We have seen scientists start to chart that human beings in several different studies have exhibited the tendency to arise more frequency of thinking in higher brain waves, right? You know, theta waves and beyond. Okay, somebody else chiming in. Folks, if you want, you can announce yourself in the chat. You know what I mean? So I can kind of shout you out and give gratitude and thanks for you being with us. I certainly appreciate you. I love you all. You know that. True indeed. But yeah, we have seen this actual evidence, right? Human beings are starting to think in higher brain waves. We're starting to exhibit higher consciousness. This is fact, right? Scientifically quantifiable and has started to be quantified in that manner in several different studies, right? Um, Especially if we talk about the energies that are impacting our planet. Um, there have been a lot of different articles on that in science, and you could just pick up a popular science magazine or something of that genre of publication and find stories and even illustrations and pictures to really bring it home to you, for you to understand like what's happening. Right? This is not just this is a fact that our solar system is always constantly orbiting the center of our galaxy, and right now where we're at is housing those very powerful and transformative energies. Okay, so with all that as our backdrop, we need to cognize and understand that there will be changes, not only in our paradigm, and which is very profound in itself, right? And one of the most profound and powerful rewards or benefits or outcomes of us moving into higher consciousness, right? We will also undoubtedly notice increased changes in human beings. Pardon me. That probably sounded kind of crazy. In what? In human beings, right? We will notice very profound changes. Now, I'm not talking about physical changes like we'll start to grow new appendages and things of that nature, but there will be very notable and profound changes in us. Things that can be correlated to us moving into and evolving into higher consciousness, right? As you move into higher consciousness, folks, your body, right, your corporeal self literally increases in its ability to incorporate and to integrate your spiritual energy. Now that was kind of a mouthful. Let's digest that. As you move into higher consciousness, right? Your physical being, your corporeal being increases in its ability. And I'm talking about at a cellular, even subcellular level down to your atomic level, right? Maybe even subatomic down to the neutrino level, okay? Your physical corporeal being increases in its ability to incorporate and to integrate your spiritual energy. I'm not talking about something foreign. We understand that we are energetic beings, right? You do, in fact, you are your greater self, your higher self is spiritual in nature, multidimensional, not of this linear plane, right? But expansive of the linear plane. I actually should say not of, I should say not contained within the linear plane, but expansive of it. That is you. Okay. Understand again that correlation, that as you increase in as your consciousness comes to higher and higher plateaus, you will increase in your capacity to integrate and incorporate your spiritual energy. Now, why is that profound, Big King? Okay, beautiful. Somebody else coming on in. Make yourselves at home. Just to rehash a little bit, folks, I gave a little bit of a backdrop on the fact that we are not just guessing and not just moving
completely off of esoteric information, right? It is backed up in information that has been made abundantly available and increasingly available. Okay, more folks chiming in. That's beautiful. Increasingly available in the scientific and offered up by the scientific community. I'm talking about mainstream science. Okay. Like I stated, you can just pick up a popular science magazine every so often, folks. When you go or you're sitting in the dentist's office or the doctor's office, instead of picking up that, and I'm not making a judgment statement, I'm just literally saying, instead of picking up that Good Housekeeping or that beauty magazine or the sports magazine, right? Pick up the science magazine and flip through to some of those articles, because there really is a lot of information being offered up to us about how where we are in the galaxy right now, our solar system, and certainly our planet and everything on it, humans notwithstanding, where we are right now and how these energies are very profound, folks. This is new. This isn't like, an everyday occurrence, right? Humanity is going through and experiencing something profound. So that this is changing us, okay? And I started to talk about those changes and how scientists are reporting through studies, and it's being made abundantly available and clear. The more that we check, we see evidence of human beings more frequently thinking in higher brain waves, right? And exhibiting higher consciousness, right? This is, there's other forms of as evidence that we see, and even more direct evidence in terms of how it is impacting humans, right? Folks, there are more and more of these videos popping up with babies, right? Newborn babies being more and more aware of their surroundings. Like, I love the one of the little baby where he's newborn baby sitting up. Nobody got to help him hold his head. He's just looking around, checking folks out, right? And his pops is just commenting on how aware he is and how, like, or you like talking to her, like, man, you grown, you back here in another life or something, you know what I mean? And the baby's just like looking like if you watch for a couple of more minutes, he's just gonna start rapping to her, like, yeah, pops, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, there's a lot of evidence of us exhibiting higher consciousness, right? So I started to talk about how that will have a profound effect on us. And the equation I'm offering up is that as we increase and exhibit a higher consciousness, right, our physical capacity, our corporeal capacity to integrate and incorporate our spiritual energy will increase, right? There's a direct correlation to that. And we will continue to see changes be more and more profound as we exhibit how we are increasing our incorporation and our integration of our spiritual energy. All right, folks, higher consciousness changes your DNA. Do the research. There's plenty of free thinking research out there on this. Certainly a ton of videos that you can go and just click on it. You can get to the library. One of the things I like to do, right? Get into the library and do some studying, right? There's more information than you might think available, readily available, right? Okay. And I don't mean you have to sit in the library for hours and hours like I do from time to time. But you can just, if you had 15, 20 minutes or something, stop in the library and check some of the stuff out. All right, word life. So there is evidence that your DNA is impacted directly by your consciousness, right? There have been scientific experiments that demonstrate this, okay? Like, for example, experiment that exhibited when statements of higher consciousness were very similar to the experiments done on the impact of consciousness on water and the impact of consciousness on plants. That work, particularly the water, done by Dr. Masaru Emoto, right? But there's a whole body of evidence there on that. So, what we are seeing offered as evidence is that DNA, when having statements, the higher consciousness sort of affirmation statements spewed, projected into DNA that has been captured in a closed environment, like a vacuum environment, that DNA flowers, meaning that it expresses itself more fully. Deep. And conversely, when that DNA has more negative or low vibrational frequencies, and this has also been done with sound frequencies as well, incorporating cymatics. But when those statements are spewed in a negative or lower vibrational frequency intent and expression into the DNA, rather than flowering, it actually coils, right? And with the cymatics, and when they introduce sonics and sound into it, the higher frequency you go, the same impact on the DNA. It flowers and expresses itself more fully. This is your DNA, human DNA, right? And the same thing conversely with the lower frequency sounds, and sonic sort of instigation, right? Of the human DNA propagated it to recoil, right? And have a lesser and lower expression, right? I talk all the time about DNA efficacy. That's essentially what I'm referring to, folks. As your DNA expands and sort of flowers, more aspects and more of the information contained within the DNA can be accessed by your corporeal being, right? When your DNA recoils, less and less of that information is available to be accessed by your corporeal being. This is science, folks, right? Don't take my word for any of this, which is always my disclaimer, right? Make sure that you are doing your own free thinking research, and you'll see exactly what I'm referring to, right? So, okay, understanding all of that, we need to understand that the further we go, we will see more and more profound changes. That will include, most likely, now when I say most likely, I'm speaking from my scientific reference. If I speak from an esoteric stance, then most certainly, right? But most likely we will see increases in abilities like telepathy being our ability to communicate with our minds, right? In fact, folks, quite honestly, I don't know if you have noticed it, but I most certainly have. That's already starting to happen. It is. It more and more profoundly, if you notice, you will see more nonverbal communication being relayed between human beings. That's not all just based on reading your physicality, right? Reading your movements or your stance, posture, your facial reactions. It's not all just that, right? It's also the fact that our brain waves, which have never been contained, they're your brain waves always escape your skull cavity, right? And go out into the quantum field. Well, along the way, they're hitting a lot of things, including other human beings. What I'm telling you now is that our ability to perceive, receive, and be receptive of that and process that is now increasing and going to continue to increase. Our ability to actually coordinate communication to and from one another mentally will increase, folks. Telepathy is a reality that we're moving toward, right? I could start to go into other things. It is very likely, right, that we will also see changes like telekinesis, right? Folks, your interactivity, I already told you how, and we've talked a myriad of times about how not only we're all connected as human beings, we are energetically connected, right, by different fields, energetic fields to everything. Now, as your consciousness increases and you move into higher consciousness and integrate more of your spiritual energy, you will also, and your DNA continues to flower and express with higher efficacy, you will eventually gain, most likely from the scientific side, most certainly from the esoteric side or stance, you will gain telepathy and telekinesis, right? Just to name a few. There are likely other things associated with mental acuity and ability that we will gain, just as part of our natural evolution in higher consciousness. Okay? Now that we've got to this point, here's the question I'm posing to everyone. With that understanding, we do perceive the fact that if we have telepathy and if we're able to communicate to one another mentally, there goes telling verbal lies. So, hence the question. Imagine that on this planet for 48 hours, no one had the ability, the actual capacity to tell a lie or exhibit or practice any deception whatsoever for 48 hours straight on this planet. What would that look like? That's the open question, folks. The folks that are in, please feel free to chime in. I'm opening it up right now, and I really want to hear what you have to say, right? Imagine that. Now, me always thinking, of course, there are implications right in your personal life, right? Everyone around you, folks who you might wonder, have they been lying to you at all? You would know. Unequivocally, right? You would know. But I tend to take it much beyond that. And I'm always thinking about paradigm shift and changing this planet because we have an unprecedented, let me state that, an unprecedented opportunity to shift our paradigm on this planet and truly change the world. I think a lot of us may not casually grasp that, or may not in the course of our day or in this part of our lives, this season of our lives, truly grasp that and how profound it is. But understanding that, I tend to move my thoughts to things that are impactful on a more grand or broader scale, right? What does that look like for the world? When world leaders, when politicians and kings and princes and whoever, right, and queens, the whole nine, oligarchy, nobody can lie or practice deception in any way whatsoever for 48 hours. What would that look like, folks? Please jump in the chat and let's start this interaction going. I really want to hear what some of you have to say on this, because this is profound, right? When I think about it, I think of, man, just right here in the United States, think about the questions that we could ask of the most powerful people and the people who we sort of put in charge. My goodness. You want to know what's the truth on chemtrails? Ask the question. You want to know what the agenda is and the sort of game plan of the depopulationists on the planet? Go ahead and ask. Who are specifically all of the populationists who are throwing their hat in the ring and putting their resources and their agenda toward depopulation and things that are headed or pointing in that direction? Ask the question. Folks, how profound would it be for our leaders to not be able to lie to us for 48 hours? We could find out about everything. We could find out about shadow governments. We could find out about the all of the truth behind this UFO cover up, UFO, USO, UAP, right? We can find out about social engineering agendas. Man. All right. Welcome. We got Alicia. Please accept my gratitude and love. Thank you so much for chiming in. And she says they would need to stop lying to themselves first. Oh, I love that. True indeed. That's profound in itself. They would have to stop lying to themselves and their own little inner circle, their family and whatnot. They would no longer jump forward with, we got to realize, folks, these people are themselves indoctrinated and actively indoctrinate their children and et cetera, right? Most of the time without even likely knowing it on a conscious basis. Hey, Leash, thank you so much, but yes, it's not hard for me to be authentic for 48 hours and beyond, but these folks being authentic, these folks, I think she's saying, have not been authentic for many years. True indeed. Folks, there are some people in powerful places that in terms of their interaction with us and what they give us in instances and situations where they actually are charged with the responsibility of being accountable to us, there are those of them who have not been authentic ever with us. What would that look like for them to have to do so? That's deep. That's profound. True indeed. Like I said, all these elements, in other words, if we ask for all of the elements of the shadow government to make themselves known, right? Think about that. Think of if we were to look into all of the social engineering plans that are in the agenda of those that are making them to be known, what would that look like? Deep. Alicia goes on to say 21 days to break a bad habit, and it takes way longer than 48 hours. True that. True that. Yeah, that's why if we could have this 48-hour period, right? If it wasn't there is no, it's not a voluntary thing. This just is what it was on the planet. Man, how profound the discovery alone would be. And we got to understand, folks, we have been living in this paradigm, existing, I should say at least, because we're really not living to anywhere near to what our best lives really should look like. But we've been existing in this paradigm for a long time. We're talking about millennia. The wool has been pulled over our eyes, so to speak, for a long time by a great many people. What would it look like for that to no longer be the case and for them to have to tell the truth about whatever we inquire? Deep. Dig that. Thank you so much, Alicia. I appreciate that. Anybody else? Or do you have anything else to say, Alicia? Anybody, please jump in, because, when we move, these are the kind of profound things that are literally perplexing the elites, right? Imagine if your whole system of rule has been based on controlling the flow of information to the masses, and you now are completely being stripped of that ability to maintain power, and you've got to not only give that up, but you got to tell the truth about everything that you've been lying about. D. Brother Silo. Tony Atlas jumps in the chat. If I don't have deception to spare with my reception, it tends to get lazy. Like, that's a deeper, profound thing to state. Okay, I'm gonna read that back. If I don't have deception to spare my reception, it tends to get lazy. L-I-K. Okay. Jump in a little bit deeper on the meaning of that, bro. Because I know you always got something profound that you're jumping at, that you're gnawing at. If I don't have deception now, okay. I see you coming back in with something else. If I don't have deception, now that's interesting to me, because how many of us have become dependent on the deception? Okay, Silo, you taking me somewhere like the Matrix movies. Right? Okay. Oh, not to spare, to spar with. Okay. So his comment actually originally reads, if I don't have deception to spar with my reception, it tends to get lazy. Okay. So in that, I pull the reference to our constant need to be discerning, right? For example, what do we call the television? The boob tube, right? The tell lie vision, and all sorts of other nicknames that point to that, right? Now, when we see that we have that as a source of information or any kind of multimedia, we know that as we sort of digest that, we have to actively be discerning between what we take as authentic, as Alicia stated it to be, and what is not genuine at all, what is truthful, and what is laced with deception. And certainly that is a sparring that goes back and forth. Silo, thank you, bro. That is a sparring that you have where you are constantly going back and forth and discerning information. And that does make us sharpen in that manner. I.e., Silo, a side conversation that you and I had before about how at one time on this planet, as the original inhabitants of this planet, we did not practice deception at all. But another conversation, but that's deep. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So that's profound, right? Not to mention bouncing it back. Now, I could take it down a little bit. You know, I do tend to think in the profound ways and how it is broad, but we could take that back a little bit down to the microcosm of family and those around us, right? Family, friends, associates, social environment. Word life, Brother Silo. And what would that look like? Because for some people, for some people, that might be quite jarring for those around you to be 100% authentic and truthful, right? And to be forthcoming about any deception that they may have practiced against you, right? Even if intentions may have come from a somewhat innocent place, right? Folks, lies we know can often spiral out of control quickly, much more quickly than first intended. All right, that would be deep for many of us, indeed. For those around us to be in that position for 48 hours, right? Yeah, so we can comment on that if you want, what that looks like. But what about when the two sort of collide? Uh-oh, we taking it to another level. We putting another layer in this. I've spoken both in direct conversations, but certainly in my videos as well, about how this thing works in levels. When I say this thing, I mean the Maya, the Matrix, the Great Deception, right? Works in levels. There's the worldwide level. There's the level of deception in this hemisphere practiced by the governments in this hemisphere, like the United States and Canada and the South American governments, etc. There is the deception that is, what we experience in our everyday lives in our states and cities, right? There's the deception that we experience in our neighborhoods, right, where we reside. There's even deception that we find amongst one another, associates, family, friends, etc. What would it look like for that to no longer be the case and for all of that to be revealed for 48 hours? And the other layer is the correlation between all the layers. That's deep. That's deep, right? Because we know in some of these neighborhoods, we got lodges. I'm not making any judgment statements or accusations, but we know the truth that there are connections in these secret societies, right, that go all the way up in terms of levels, right? If you have presidents, most of our presidents have belonged to some secret society organization, right? And we also know people right around us who belong to these organizations and all the way in between, then, and we know that secrecy in itself is a form of deception, what would it look like if for 48 hours all of that had to be revealed? Folks, there's a lot going on in the world. There may be a lot going on in your lives, in your neighborhoods, and right around you. I'm asking you to think about it. What would that look like for transparency across the board? I'll take it back out to the broader spectrum. Many of you know about the hearings. True indeed. Yes. Secret societies promote secrets, even between spouses. No bueno. Wow. True that. True that. We have to understand that in these secret societies, we're talking about allegiances that to these people are higher than any other relationship in their lives, right? So yes, very profound and deep. Alicia states once again, yes, secret societies promote secrets, even between spouses. No bueno. That ain't good at all. But it's real, right? And if we start to think about the proliferation of these secret societies and how they really have spread, even more so in recent years, for those who've been paying attention, right? You're talking about more and more secrets and more people being lied to. So yeah, deep. What about if that all had to be revealed for 48 hours? What would that look like? I'm going to toss something else in the ring. I don't know how many of you have been paying attention. Certainly I've seen it, and others I know have seen it in this city. And when I took my little journey, my little tour of about 7-8 cities, and some of the conversations I had with people there, they noticed it as well. But witchcraft, whether we're talking about witches, whether we're talking about warlocks, whether we're talking about whatever, position, designation, the fact that these covens have become more widespread and have not really been hiding, right? This is not something I'm not breaking any news really, because I've seen this advertised right down East Slid. Keep it funky, right? We're inviting people to join these covens. And I ain't even placing no judgment. I'm just telling you what's there. There's a level of secrecy there as well. And here's the kicker, folks. There are ties between the two, the secret societies and these covens. Now, we can really get deep and uncover the fact that there are ties between all of those groups and religious organizations. I ain't gonna talk too much about religion. I'm not gonna go there very much, but just to toss that out there, you can look to my videos, folks. I got 500 videos in the library. For those who are not familiar with the video content that I've been uploading to this channel for some years now, I have 500 videos available for you to look at, and there are several that touch on this subject. But yeah, I want to throw that out. Okay. Alicia goes on to say there is power in these groups, but dark power can't overtake light power. True that. True that. Right? Um, we need to understand, folks, what light and dark really is. Right? You ever think about what the motivation is for evil or what we perceive as evil? First of all, I did a video on what the difference is between darkness and evil. You should all check that out. But darkness is the inspiration for evil. Darkness is the absence of light. Light is the true source of original or organic information. The purest of information is that which springs from the eternal source, from our creator. So in the darkness, you are absent that light, that information. And in your ignorance, you stumble blindly into all the base desires and issues that humanity is so graciously spewed throughout our existence into the quantum field. And all that mess is waiting there for you. Some of it takes on some very ugly and to some even scary forms. Right? True that deep. Real quick, Tony Atlas, Brother Salos chimes in. There is light in the dark power, but the darkness knew it not. That's interesting. What I would put on that is everything springs from the same source, folks. Everything. The darkness has its purpose. This existence is our crucible to bring us spiritual maturation. The darkness is sort of like the fire in your crucible, right? In the crucible and through the process of us going through this crucible, we are forged into our best selves, being afforded the opportunity to live our best lives. And that is what is awaiting in the light, right? Tony Atlas comes on again and says, yin yang. Okay, true indeed. Look at the yin yang, or it's actually yin yang. The yin yang, right, exhibits both light and dark, and the balance in between the two. See, that's very important. Thank you, Silo, for bringing that up, because, and just to touch on, to close that thought off, that powerful thought that Alicia brought up. Yes, the light is not only, just to give you a little progress report of what's happening on the planet, folks, and why you see so much dramatic behavior from the dark, is because the light is kicking serious butt right now. You may not know that because of what you are given as evidence through the legacy mainstream media, right? But let me just offer, just real quick, and then Salo, I am going to touch on yin yang again. But let me just offer up real quick something that many of us may not have taken note of. How do we get to world wars, folks? We get to world wars, and I'm going to give props to this because some of this comes from inspiration through the channel, one of the channels I listen to, Cryon channel. But one of the things that must sort of happen in a climate that breeds world war is that we have to have the pile-on effect. You know, in football, how when there's a scrum, everybody jumps on the pile, right? Okay. A similar thing happens in this world when you see a climate that could precipitate world war. There's a touch-off point or maybe two touch-off points, and everybody takes sides and jumps in on whatever their perspective side is. Right now, what's happening in the Gaza Strip, I won't even touch on the Ukraine right now, but what's happening in the Gaza Strip is not even a war, folks. It's not even a military conflict or campaign. We're talking about genocide. They are literally slaughtering these people. And they don't care if it's man, woman, or child. Okay? That's darkness, that's evil. You have them being backed by the United States, most certainly by President Biden, who decided to go, and I'm not revealing anything that's like debatable or controversial. This is fact, just look it up. In order to sort of deceive Congress, your president decided that, hey, there's these thresholds on what I can order out to be shipped in terms of military aid to other countries, where I have to get approval from, I have to first notify Congress and sort of get approval from them on this, right? But if it's kept below certain levels, he can sort of sneak it through without that approval and notification process. Folks, he's done most recently 100 such shipments to Israel. Now, while the Biden campaign is so quick, and I'm not being political one side or the other, but this is fact. While they've been so quick to make note of their humanitarian aid being sent to Gaza, what about the fact that it's your weapons that's killing all these folks? And Israel has even made the statement that they would not have been able to take out this kind or extend this sort of toward campaign without that military support, without all the weaponry, the bullets, the bombs. They're even sending them cluster bombs, which you're not even supposed to, they're supposed to be like internationally banned, because these things can lay dormant. You got 15 years later, some child's on the way to school and steps on a cluster bomb from 15 years ago that was dropped in a military campaign, and they should have been an outlaw. But still, we've sent some of them. Okay? These things are happening. But what's not happening is the rest of the world isn't just saying, oh, okay, U.S., we doing this thing now, Israel, okay, we jumping on, let's go ahead and jump on in that. No, the rest of the world is saying, whoa, y'all are slaughtering these people. This isn't a military conflict. Y'all are slaughtering these people. This is genocide. It's what some countries, like South Africa, for example, have stood up and stated. So rather than the old climate that we used to see on this planet, where folks would have just jumped on in and started dropping bombs too and doing their thing, and you understand, we're now seeing other world governments say, no, y'all taking it way too far. You're not just defending yourselves, you're slaughtering these people, and we're not jumping on. That's new, folks. Look through the annals of history. We say that history just repeats itself, right? Tell me where you've seen that before. You haven't. We are growing and expanding in consciousness. The paradigm is changing. It will continue to do so, and war will not be supported by the new paradigm. Light's kicking some butt right now, folks. There are many other examples. I stated how the video of young folks, speaking out against things that have been indoctrinated or attempted to be indoctrinated into them, that they're speaking out against, that would cause them to be of a separation mentality rather than unity consciousness. They're speaking out against that. right? We are seeing, if you're looking for it and paying attention, if you're looking in free thinking sources rather than relying solely on mainstream legacy media that will never show you these things, keep looking. They won't show you. They won't show you that all around the world, protests are jumping up about the things that these governments are just unilaterally doing, all these censorship laws and all the ways that they're exercising and implementing control in our lives that we're not asking for. Right? People are standing up to this. It's happening. This is real. Right? If it was a football game, folks, believe it or not, we'd be in the fourth quarter. Huh? The light is up about 44 to 10, and we got the ball. Huh? It's about 35 seconds left on the clock. There just is no hope for the dark. They're not going to win this one, like they've been doing for eons and millennia, folks. They don't like that we even know that. They don't like that we even know that they've been ruling us for so long. So, all right, I got on my soapbox again for a minute, but yeah, that's what's happening, folks. The light is doing some serious George Foreman out there, right? Some serious Mike Tyson uppercuts is jumping off. All right. And we need that, folks, because there's too many things that we need to see come to an end. You know, all the adrenochrome program, for those that know about that, you know, all this human trafficking and all the things done to women and children. It's got to stop, period. These things are happening on an international level. If you live here in Pittsburgh or in Pennsylvania, this is a heavy vein of that trafficking on our highways every day. We laying in our beds at night, and at 2, 3 in the morning, you got tractor trailers with men and with women and children being taken as virtual slave, is essentially as slaves, up and down the highways in the backs of some of these 18-wheelers. It's facts. Did y'all see that movie, The Sound of Freedom? They didn't even want that to be aired in the U.S. Think about that. Come on, folks. We waking up. Light is winning. Okay, so back to yin yang. Balance. Balance. Very important, folks. Extremely important that we have balance in the universe. We would not have existence were it not for certain balances. Okay? We have been out of balance on this planet for a long time. We have been in the dark for a long time. The dark has been winning. They've been kicking butt. I want to not give props, right? They've been kicking butt for a long time. And folks, honestly, we needed that. We needed that as a push, as a civilization to mature and grow out of these things. We're not going to stay this way, right? As I stated, we're already evolving out of what we would identify as evil or darkness. So yeah, shout out again, at least to that wonderful comment. And shout out again to Brother Shiloh about bringing up the balance of yin yang. Is very important because now we're getting back into balance, right? And the problem is that we've been out of balance with darkness and light. There's been the rule or preponderance of darkness, when now we have the beginnings of the preponderance of light. Now remember, light is that eternal source of information from our Creator. We need that to evolve and move forward into higher states of consciousness. This is what we're talking about, folks. We're talking about the evolution of a species, us. That's what we're talking about. All right. Anybody else got any comments on this subject? I love it. This is a profound one, and we had some profound truths and affirmations stated. Most notably, thank you again so much, Alicia. I love you, cousin. I appreciate you tremendously. Brother Silo, thank you so much, my brother. I love you, appreciate you tremendously. And anybody else who has chimed in and checked us out today. Anybody else who has any comments or statements on this, this is profound, folks, because we're headed towards it for one. Again, we will gain at some point in this evolution, widespread throughout humanity, we will more and more see incidences of, to the point that it will be normality, that we have telepathy. We're headed toward that. As part of some of the things that we will gain in higher consciousness. And with that comes the inability of anyone to lie to us. You're not coming speaking no lies to me because I know what you're thinking. Right? So in that climate, and I'm posing the question again, if no one could lie or practice any deception of any form whatsoever on this planet for 48 hours, 48 hours, what would that look like? Truth. Yes, dude. Yes, yes. Man, 48 hours. I'm also excited about what 48 hours of telepathy would mean for us. Will we maybe have decide to have what has eluded us that I've seen people propose from time to time, that what if everybody on the planet said, you know what, we got to take our power back. Nobody spend no money. Nobody go to work. Nobody participate in anything mainstream whatsoever for as little as 24 hours, and see what would happen. See how that wouldn't be us snatching back our power from the elite and saying, look here, ain't but a few million of y'all. There's damn near 8 billion of us. You're not dictating what your agenda is anymore to us. Here's our agenda. How powerful is that? See, these are the kind of things that have the socially economic elite quaking in their boots. They are deathly afraid of this. Why do you think there's been so many movies on the apocalypse coming out of Hollywood in the past 10 years or so? They're literally expressing the mentality of the elites on the planet in movie form. They view it this way. To them, the notion of us all being free, of us all snatching the power back and it really being power to the people. Let me get the right arm up. And it really being power to the people. Oh my goodness. To them, that's the end of the world. Why do you think they moved? I think a lot of people get it really misconstrued or misunderstood on why they moved so quickly and so powerfully against the Black Panthers. It's not because here's a group of Black men and women standing up for their people. That was bad enough in their eyes. But the bigger concept that they were afraid of was that the Black Panther Power's motto and what they expressed to all people was power to the people. They understood how shadow governments work. They understood the inner workings of all this. They knew what President Eisenhower was warning us against. They knew what President Kennedy was trying to bring to us before he was savagely killed. They knew what was going on before they themselves were taken out by such devious tactics executed by our CIA, where they would literally ship truckloads of dope, of illicit drugs into our communities as a way to submersively undermine and take down the Black Panther Party. Come on, folks. The elites are paying attention, probably to this podcast right now, but they know they can't stop it. Those days are over. True that. Power to the people. Ma V, what's up, sis? Word, life, peace, love, respect. Please chime in. We're talking actively about what it would look like on the planet if for 48 hours no one could lie to you or practice deception of any way. And I proposed it going all the way up the ladder to the world governments and all of our quote unquote leaders that we've put in the position. What would it look like for 48 hours? Powerful. Jump in, please. PLR, peace, love, respect. That's what it would look like. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about, Silo. Peace, love, respect. That's what they're afraid of. Oh, please know, part of my agenda, a copy of my book will be arriving at some point, likely this year, to all of Congress, and if I can, many world leaders. I'm going to get them a copy of the book. Y'all going to know this is the reality. We ain't going away. Peace, love, respect is here to stay. That's what the new paradigm will bring to us all. Word life. Ma V, all our relationships would either grow or be destroyed, but truth will be there. True that. True that. Thank you, sis. Man, doesn't that touch back on to how I was talking earlier about how this it goes all the way up the ladder and trickles all the way back down to every relationship in our lives, folks, the people around us, right? And it's time for that. It's time for us to be authentic, as Alicia pointed out earlier, with one another, right? We need to have better relationships with one another, thus fostering us being our best selves, actively living our best lives. Let's do this, folks. It's time. It is time. Now. Right? So we will continue to evolve and grow in spiritual maturity, right? And in ways that will foster us seeing unprecedented growth, right? We are actively evolving, folks. That is an incredible process that we cannot underestimate, right? This is beautiful. This is beautiful. Just even that we have this forum is beautiful to me. I love each and every last one of y'all. Truly. Know that. And I'm not stopping. Ever. Huh? Big King is in this thing to the end with all of you. I'm with you. I love you. True indeed. All right. Mavi states the best type of remediation, IMO, or maybe even the only kind, is to be yourself, to know that. True that. Hey, folks, look here. The most powerful 3 words ever spoken: know thyself. Huh? Word life. We digging, y'all. We digging. We digging deep within ourselves and uncovering the truths, THS, that we're going to be using as building blocks to firm up, to cement in our new paradigm. Certainly, I like to say, as one of the exhibits that in fact exudes peace, love, respect, word life. True that. Man, this is beautiful. I love this forum. I love you all. True that. Anybody else got any more comments on this subject? Just paint the picture in your mind. For 48 hours, no one on the planet could speak a lie to one another or practice deception in any way for 48 hours. What would that look like? Powerful and profound indeed. What would that look like? Please chime in. Feel free. Anybody? More comments? I'm holding up a little bit to see what else folks got to say. I love our interaction, just so y'all know that. This is something very rewarding for me personally. I love this forum. I love our interaction. So please give me some more. Yeah, please keep the input coming. Pardon me, y'all. Got a little bit parched. Hold up a little bit more. Not the chirry voice. Okay, word life. So Mavi comes in. If we were to be honest, to lose the poker face and show our hands, to speak from our heart and desire with conviction. I like that. I like that. I like that. True indeed. We need to do that. I second that notion. And I feel that the more we are able to see that and incorporate that kind of behavior, sort of environment for one another, we would benefit immensely. Again, Mavi goes in to say, every one of our relationships would be profoundly transmuted into the strongest bonds. I agree wholeheartedly. Right? And so it should be amongst human beings. I'm gonna touch on something in one moment. I'm gonna get back to Mavi states, if nothing else, because we are able to know ourselves and others honestly, right? we hear people say that, like, I don't feel seen. And some people might crack a joke at that, or maybe even struggle to understand what somebody means by that. And, there's certainly we don't delve into each other enough quite often in our relationships that we really get to know the other person, right? We often stay fixated on what that person is to us, right? So often we don't see truly who that person is. Holler back on what y'all think about that. I got to thank y'all again. This forum is wonderful, and certainly this week has been no disappointment, right? Um, so thank y'all again for a wonderful conversation and discussion. Yet again, I love the way that we are able to organically erupt into these discussions that really, I feel like brings light to a lot of us, right? If not all of us. So thank you all. Truly, I appreciate this, and I appreciate you. Um, More than can be stated. True that. Anybody else have any more comments on this and how we would be affected by 48 hours, folks? 48 hours of no lying to one another, practicing any deception whatsoever. 48 hours on this entire planet. What would that look like? My V comes back into state. My closest bonds are the ones where we are authentically ourselves, vulnerable with each other and open to reflection. True that. True that. I feel very fortunate, very honored also that I have uh, wonderful friends like Marv that we've been friends for years, folks. We've seen some decades pass, right? And that's a beautiful thing to have that, and it's something that we should have far more widespread, right? Um, we should have, listen, as human beings, we should not have to endeavor quite so hard to be close to one another. I said I was going to touch on something, and I'm going to jump into this real quick before we close this out. In Star Trek, right? Many of you may know I'm a Trekkie. There is an episode on one of the Star Trek episodes that involved a race of beings that are shapeshifters, right? And so there was a conflict, intergalactic war, right? Going on between, not that that's something to smile about, but going on between these shapeshifters. They were referred to as the Dominion, right? And these other sovereign groups of aliens, whatever. Okay, humans included in that. So the thing about it is that these shapeshifters had relationships with the Starfleet. Okay. But that eventually war erupted, and the ambassador, I believe you could say ambassador, but I believe was an actual Starfleet officer, was one of the shapeshifters. He actually was the constable on Deep Space Nine. So you can reference that. But what's interesting is he was captured during the war between the Dominion and Starfleet. And when in the company of and being interrogated by one of the high leaders within the ranks of the shapeshifters, he had an incredibly interesting conversation, at least one that I found very profound and interesting. And as he's conversing with her, he's expecting to come to harm. And she stopped him in the middle of sort of their initial interaction with one another and assured him, listen, I would never and we would never harm you because you are like us, right? Even though they're both on two different sides of a war, he's expecting physical harm to come to him. Where she was stating, for me to harm you would be like harming myself. Even though we're warring, we are the same. We're the same being. We're a part of the same being. And that was the social structure of those shapeshifters. That's how they interacted with one another. That's how they lived, with constant reference to the collective, right? And the emotion that struck me, this is what struck me about their conversation, is the emotion and the sincerity when she looked into the captive's eyes and said, I would never harm you. I would never, for me to do that would be a barbaric thought to even grasp as the concept of us harming one another. We're the same. For me to harm you would be like me harming myself. Isn't that something humanity needs to adopt? Huh? Don't we need to start to feel closer to the point that harming ourselves or one another is barbaric and is a thought that doesn't even enter into our mind? It's ridiculous. I would never harm another human being. Isn't that where we need to be headed? Aren't there those whose paradigm have kept us from that for a long time? Huh? So in 48 hours of no lying and no deception on this planet, could we look to embrace that? Huh? Could we look to embrace that? All right, folks. I can't thank you all enough. I love you all. Again, this has been a wonderful conversation. Does anybody else have anything else that they want to chime in with or offer up on this subject of, once again, what it would look like on the planet if we were to have 48 hours, just 48 hours, no lying and no deception practice whatsoever? How powerful and profound would that be? All right. Thank you all. I love you all. I can't say that enough. I know I say it a lot, but I need you to know. I truly appreciate this. We had another magnificent episode of Building with Big King. We got in there and we helped each other build on this subject once again. Thank you. Please, even if I don't send out a notification, please come back next week, folks, everybody. And beyond that, please try to bring somebody with you and let's grow this forum, right? Let's start to chime in and grow this forum Once again, every week at 7 p.m., come on and build with your brother Big King. One time. All right. I love you all. Worldwide movement. Peace, love, respect. Big King Sadiq. Out.